Hush, little baby, don't say a word.
This is a conspiracy channel.
Welcome to the Hush channel. Mercy Lena Brown was born on August 2nd, 1872 in Exeter, Rhode Island, the daughter of George Thomas Brown, a farmer, and Mary Eliza Elizabeth Arnold Brown. The Browns were a typical farming family in a rural town that by the late 19th century was fading, its stony soil and thinning population leaving households scattered and isolated. To her family and neighbors, she was simply Lena, the quiet younger daughter. Mercy was one of many children. Her siblings included Mary Olive, Annie Laura, Edwin Eddie Atwood, Harriet Hattie Mabel May Clark, Jenny Adeline, and Myra Frances. Several of them, like their mother, would succumb to tuberculosis. The disease, called consumption, wasted its victims with coughing, fever, and emaciation, and entire families were undone by it. Mary Eliza, the mother, was the first Brown to die in 1883 at only 36. Only 6 months later, the eldest daughter, Mary Olive, a 20-year-old dressmaker, followed. In 1889, Edwin showed the same symptoms and traveled to Colorado Springs, as many consumptives did, seeking relief in the mountain air. Mercy stayed behind with her father and younger sisters, helping maintain the household. By 1891, both Edwin and Mercy were stricken. Mercy's form of tuberculosis was galloping, sudden, swift, and devastating. She died on January 17, 1892, at only 19. Because the ground was frozen, her coffin was kept in the crypt at Chestnut Hill Baptist Church until burial could be made in the thaw. Her obituary in the Providence Journal was simple: Miss Lena Brown died of consumption. A photograph that still circulates online showing a gaunt woman named Charlotte Bronson suffering from tuberculosis in the 1850s is often mislabeled as Mercy, though it is not her. When Edwin returned from Colorado, he found no recovery. His condition worsened. Neighbors whispered that he was being visited at night by Mercy, who came to drain his vitality. His fevered dreams of Lena calling to him seemed proof. The family had already buried mother and sisters. Why was Edwin still failing? Friends and neighbors, steeped in New England folk beliefs about consumption, persuaded George Brown that one of the dead must be feeding on the living. Though skeptical, George consented. On March 17, 1892, villagers gathered with the local physician, Dr. Harold Metcalf, and a Providence Journal reporter. They exhumed Mary Eliza and Mary Olive, who were skeletal, their decay expected. Then they opened Mercy's coffin. She appeared almost unchanged, flesh still present, hair intact. And when Dr. Metcalf cut into her, he found liquid blood in the heart and lungs. He tried to explain that this was natural, the product of winter storage in a crypt, but to the community it was unmistakable. She was undead. Following the tradition, they cut out Mercy's heart and liver, burned them on a stone, and mixed the ashes with water. This potion was given to Edwin to drink as a cure, an attempt to break the vampire's hold. He swallowed it, but died on May 2nd, 1892, at the age of 24. What remained of Mercy's body was buried in Chestnut Hill Baptist Church Cemetery, where her gravestone still stands, now worn by weather and visited by pilgrims who leave offerings. George Brown himself never contracted tuberculosis. He lived to the age of 80, long enough to see bacteriologists Albert Calmette and Camille Guerin discover the BCG vaccine that would eventually protect millions from the disease that devastated his family. Mercy's exhumation was part of what is now called the New England Vampire Panic, a wave of folk rituals across Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Vermont, where families suspected the dead of feeding on the living. The word vampire was rarely used locally, but the logic was the same. When several members of a household wasted away, one corpse might be held responsible. What set Mercy apart was the record. The Providence Journal covered the event in detail. George R. Stetson wrote about it in American Anthropologists, and later folklorists like Michael E. Bell added it to the tapestry of American death lore. The incident is now considered one of the best documented cases of exhumation and ritual to banish an undead presence in American history. Mercy's story crossed into literature and popular culture. Scholars believe that Bram Stoker, who was gathering folklore for Dracula in the 1890s, may have read the accounts of New England vampires. Mercy's case resembles Lucy Westenra's wasting and posthumous exorcism. H.P. Lovecraft, a Rhode Island native, later wove allusions to her into The Shunned House, a tale of a dwelling cursed with deaths by consumption. In the modern era, her story was revisited in the Monster Quest television episode Vampires in America, and her name continues to surface whenever American vampire folklore is discussed. The contrast with old world vampire lore are stark. In Eastern Europe, vampires wandered the night, preying on strangers. In Rhode Island, the vampire was always kin, feeding only on the household. In Europe, the cure was staking. In New England, it was to burn the heart and make medicine from the ashes. The symbolism too diverged. Europe tied vampirism to the restless dead or sin, while Rhode Island tied it directly to epidemic illness. Mercy's story endures because she bridges myth and history. She was a real girl, born in 1872, who died in 1892. Her life was simple: farm chores, sewing, a family she loved. Her death unfolded in a season of fear when science had no answers and folklore gave communities a ritual to act upon. She became the last American vampire, not because she rose from the grave, but because grief and superstition demanded that someone be named. In the end, Mercy Brown's case is both tragedy and legend. She did not feed upon her brother. Tuberculosis did. But her story, recorded in newspapers and folklore, became immortal. Today, at Chestnut Hill Cemetery, her gravestone still draws visitors. They do not come because she was a monster, but because in her name we see how myth and medicine collide, and how even an ordinary farm girl can become the most studied vampire in American history.